Okay, 9-2, is that what we're on, 9-2? Okay, 9-2, for some reason, it's not. Okay, 9-2, whoa.
It feels good to look at.
Okay, 9-2, we are going to talk about
Good catch, kid.
deciding if a parallelogram is also a rectangle, square, and or a rhombus. Okay. So what are our over-encompassing terms right now that we've talked about?
Parallelogram.
Parallelogram.
Quadrilateral.
Okay, so it all falls under a quadrilateral, yes?
Oh, yeah.
And then you have a parallelogram. What's inside of a parallelogram? Square and
Rectangle.
rectangle.
Rhombus.
Rhombus. What is on the outside?
Trapezoid.
Good. So deciding if a parallelogram is also a rectangle, square, or rhombus, yes.
You know the picture that you showed us Monday of like the. all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shapes?
yeah, that blue
Can you
one.
have that on like PowerPoint or something? Because I really liked it. And I like it.
You can get it on your
Like a
Camscale
lot.
if you just go online and you can screenshot it.
Okay.
Okay, rectangle diagonals theorem. Here's how you can prove that it's a rectangle when it's a parallelogram, okay? A parallelogram is a rectangle if and only if its diagonals are congruent. So if AC is congruent to DB, you got a rectangle.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's
really.
Are they not equal for square?
They're not, well, is a square a rectangle?
Yes.
You're like, wait. So yes, remember our classification, it's like,
It's a lot of brain stuff.
it is, you gotta think backwards sometimes, yeah. Okay, so that one's pretty simple, like I said, there's only 4 slides, cause it's not really a lot of stuff today, we're just gonna apply these rules. Okay, we do have a proof next.
Wow.
Oh no.
We have like a bunch of proofs on our, or more than usual on our homework.
Yeah, you're
Well,
gonna
compared
have
to
a lot of
circle
proofs
sections.
again, you're gonna have a lot of proofs again, cause we're breaking stuff down into triangles again, yes?
Yeah.
Will we have proofs on our quiz?
Oh, yeah,
I was so upset when they did that proof on our homework and they were like, prove this, but don't use vertical.
guys,
Yeah.
I should have
I
been
was
copied
so
already,
upset.
this was 5 seconds,
But it was
let's go.
kind of easy though. It was only like 3 steps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
they're
still.
making you think a different way, I know.
I like thinking a different way, yeah.
God forbid I have to think.
Yeah.
Well, I like to think.
Bingo.
Okay, rectangles, rhombuses, and their diagonals. Prove that the measure of angle A equals the measure of angle B, which equals the measure of angle C, which equals the measure of angle D, which equals 90 degrees.
Now that's a lot of
So
numbers.
basically prove it's.
You gotta prove
So
that.
prove it's a rectangle, prove it's a square, whatever, because we know rectangles and squares have 90-degree angles, yes?
Correct.
So we gotta decide which one it is. It says given ABCD is a parallelogram, AC is congruent to BD. What do I start with?
Given.
ABCD is a parallelogram given.
Statements, reasons, yes, ABCD
CD.
is a parallelogram.
I just say P gram.
I don't know how far to go. I know, I'm like parallelogram.
Ooh,
Okay, that's a given. What else we got?
AC is congruent to BD.
AC is congruent to BD.
rectangle theorem.
Given. Great, now what?
Rectangle
diagonal?
It is.
diagonal.
No, it is 90 degrees.
Well,
Rectangle theorem.
no, you can't go directly to that.
You can say ABCD is a rectangle because
Good.
of rectangle diagonals theorem. My ears just popped.
Because of what?
Rectangle diagonals theorem.
Okay, and then I can say,
They equal 90 degrees because definition of a rectangle? Or,
yeah, did we have something more specific yesterday?
I
No,
don't think
that
so.
was the definition of a rectangle, right?
yeah.
Definition of a rectangle.
Wait, what was the last theorem called?
Definition.
One we just did.
Rectangle diagonals theorem.
Okay, I forgot.
Okay, definition of a rectangle. Yep, that's how you have to do. Abby's like, come on. Whoa, yes. Take that, you proof.
Yeah, take that.
Okay, 2 other ones.
But these are to be.
Sort of. A parallelogram and rhombus theorem, okay? A parallelogram is a rhombus if and only if its diagonals create perpendiculars. So on a rectangle, you notice that the diagonals don't create perpendiculars. They are equal. If the diagonals have create perpendiculars, it's a rhombus. Okay? So if AC is perpendicular to BD, you have a rhombus. The other way we can prove something is a rhombus is if a parallelogram is a rhombus, it's a rhombus if and only if its diagonals bisect the figure's angles. So see how angle B and D are bisected and C and A are bisected? I can also classify it as a rhombus that way. So I don't have to know that they create a 90-degree angle as long as they bisect each angle that is left. I don't know how to word that without it sounding weird. Okay,
Or.
yes.
So why are there two?
Wait, but,
There are two for rhombuses because you can discover it two different ways. What are you asking me?
but like,
Is that what you're asking?
if the angle, it bisects, diagonals bisect rectangle angles. Right?
Huh?
Don't the,
No, on a rectangle, we never said if they
but they're not
bisect.
angle bisect.
Correct,
So
they're
they
not
don't
angle.
split them in half.
Correct, correct.
Sometimes
They
I
don't-
just say.
They don't make them 45 necessarily.
Mhm.
They could possibly, but yeah. We don't know that for sure. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So a rectangle means that the diagonals are congruent. That's an easy one to remember. Rhombus can be either of two things. The diagonals create 90-degree angles where they intersect, or they bisect each individual angle. Okay? That means you have to memorize these theorems, and you have to memorize what that looks like picture-wise. Okay? Because we get it in picture form quite frequently. Cool? Are you ready, Abs? Okay, I'll give you one more second. And then we're gonna do, the next thing, I don't think it's a problem, we'll double check, but I have a problem out of the book I'm gonna give you before we move on, maybe two. Just so you know. Okay. So then, we have this, it's identifying rectangles, rhombuses, and squares, okay? What type of figures are MINE and YOUR? They are not drawn to scale. So the first one, what do you know off that picture, MINE? What do those hashtags mean, those little dash marks?
They're the
The
same.
highlighter
Same.
for all of the inside
So the inside's the
Means it's rhombus.
diagonal. Diagonals are complete.
the diagonal's congruent, which means it is a
Rhombus.
Rhombus.
Rectangle,
Rectangle,
rectangle, rectangle,
rectangle.
rectangle, rectangle.
It is a
Rectangle.
Rectangle.
I'm on top of it,
rectangle.
guys.
Look, this is one length and
Yeah,
one
I
length,
knew
which
that.
gives you two. Yes, that's 1 and 1, which gives you 2. 2 equals 2. Rectangle.
Next one's a
And then
rhombus.
the
Okay.
side, the
The
side.
next one,
It's a rhombus.
you have these markings, and what do these markings tell me?
They're
That they're
congruent.
the equal.
That they're congruent. So if
It's a
that's
rhombus.
55 and that's 55, that gives you what?
A rhombus.
I'm asking a
110.
different question. 110. And we know that with any parallelogram, the angles that are adjacent to each other have to add to be,
180.
so 110 and 70 is, so
180.
that makes this also, which makes this also,
110.
and so they bisected it, which means it
It's
is
a rhombus.
a rhombus.
Dude,
Okay?
wait a minute. Oh, there it is.
It's a rhombus.
You're gonna have to
Do you
get there
agree
for
with
me
that?
in different ways. Okay, let's talk through something else. They might give you something like this, which means you might have to graph something.
Mm.
Heaven
It
forbid.
says the diagonal of a rectangle starts at 2,4 and ends at 2,10.
Oh my.
Okay, it starts at 2,4 and it ends at 2,10.
Good.
And it wants
Oh,
to know what other segment with the endpoints described below could also be a diagonal. Let's talk about what other options there are before I give you options. Okay, if my starting point is 2,4 and my ending point is 2,10, that means it looks
It's in quadrant 1.
Oh, the quadrants?
Yeah, like the.
2,4 is like here, right, and 2,10 is like here. Yes?
They have to not be in the case.
Okay. So it says the diagonal of a rectangle starts. That's a diagonal. Think that through.
Oh my.
So the rectangle's like or
Correct, correct.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are other
like this, Abby.
segments? What other segment with endpoints described below could also be a diagonal? Now, what do you know about diagonals of rectangles?
They're congruent.
Which means, what do I need to find out about this?
The distance.
Beautiful.
You.
We are so smart, guys.
I
So
think
your
it-
distance
I
I know
equals
about
what?
that one, buddy.
6.
Uh,
Six.
2 minus 2
Six.
plus
6.
squared plus
Oh,
Six.
4 minus 10
that should met the formula.
Listen, you need to show me work.
6.
squared.
So you get 0, minus 6 squared, so you get 36, right?
Yep.
Which gives you 6,
6.
okay?
That's what she said.
If I give you options, okay, let me give you some
You're so
options,
smart.
and you tell me what else could work.
I'll see if it's but.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Wait,
No,
so
practice
I have a
it.
question.
I have to give you 2 points before you can say no.
It's 6.
Is it okay if we skip to it because it's just 10 minus 4 because they're on the same.
We have to put the whole distance formula there for that one.
You either have to graph it and show me the distance, or you have to give me the distance
So
formula.
there's like the
yes.
little loopy loops to graph or.
I'm gonna give you 4 points, but I'm only giving you 1 point at a time, so you can't just cheat.
Oh, that's what. I don't know.
Oh, dead.
Oh,
Oh, dead.
That's what it says.
So nice.
Yeah, I have.
Ooh, I know. Call on me.
What is it, Brandon?
Okay,
It's
which
C.
of these 4 sets of points could be a diagonal of that?
Let's see.
Abby? C? Why do you say C?
Because if you do the distance formula, 4 minus 4 is 0 and 10 minus 4 is 6.
You have to
No,
do the
but
distance
then 10
formula.
squared is 100 and square root of 100 is
Wait,
10,
but you
that's
don't-
not the same as 6.
But you don't square 10. You
It's
Oh, you're
B.
saying,
10 minus 4 and then 6 squared
It's
radical 6 squared is 6.
Definitely C.
It's definitely
Mm.
It's definitely not B.
what do you think it is?
B.
Why do you think it's B?
Because if you were doing C, they would not
I
be
didn't say
crossing
C.
each other, which means they cannot be diagonals.
Correct.
Oh.
Good, good.
Wow.
So, they might throw something in there that's tricky like that, you gotta then think that through even more. It's not just about the number, okay? When they give you no diagram, you gotta draw it out or think it through.
Negative
Good, Caleb.
1,
Oh, I appreciate it.
7.
Okay, so that's like what we're looking at tonight, you got that?
Mhm.
Okay, pretty simple.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.